comprehend. Everybody getting on the whip. I sit on the back around and everybody wave. Say goodbye. I see the why. If I'm the wind on the wave so big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the whip. I sit on the back around and everybody wave. Say goodbye. Russia warns any Challenger tank sent to Ukraine from Britain will burn. Downing Street has expressed confidence that UKR will use British tanks effectively after Russia claimed that the Challenger 2s will, quote, burn on the battlefield. It says Number 10 said that there is a plethora of evidence showing that Vladimir's troops have used UK-supplied weapons successfully, and ministers fully expected them to continue. Since Vladimir Putin ordered his troops into UKR in February of last year, Western allies have given UKR tens of billions of pounds worth of weaponry, including rocket systems, drones, armored vehicles, and communication systems. On top of that, they're going to be sending in, the U.S. is going to be sending in the Patriot, of course, all of the new tanks that we talked about. So this is a huge, huge escalation. And it says that Rishi Sunak confirmed last week that the UK would provide Kiev with 14 of its Challenger 2 main battle tanks to help with its forces push Russian troops back. It says the Kremlin has sought to downplay the significance of this move. It says, quote, they are using this country as a tool to achieve their anti-Vladian goals, Kremlin spokesman says. And then it said that these tanks are burning and will burn just like the rest. So they're sending in also some of their best tanks into UKR. This is on top of all of the other weaponry and machinery that's being sent in. This is basically a WW3 between, in a proxy sense, and then of course UKR is getting stuff from all of NATO. This is the big stuff. This is the stuff that they drew a red line over. They said if you do this, then you're going to be a legitimate target. At the same time, we actually have UKR troops in Oklahoma right now. Of course, we talked about how we thought that they were going to be trained for the Patriot system in Germany, but apparently they're going to be trained here. And then there's even more troops showing up in Oklahoma. So now we actually have their enemy in the middle of our country. So we'll talk about that and much, much more all tonight on tonight's show. So stick around. We'll be right back right after this with every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that you need to know. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfugglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. So big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the whip. I sit on the back around and everybody wave. Say goodbye. I see the why. If I'm the wind on the wave so big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the whip. I sit on the back around and everybody wave. Say goodbye. I see the why. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we have a ton to go over, so if you've never been here before, remember, you can always go over to our website, marfugglenews.com, to find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we have sourced here today. That way, you have exactly where this came from, all of the information, and you can go back retrospectively and check our work. If I make a mistake, point it out in the comments down below, or make sure to point it out in the chat. Now, of course, if you go over to our website, it's very easy to spot. It's, of course, all done by thumbnail. So look for life-changing tsunami 1,500-foot waves in the crosshairs, our coasts. When you click on that, of course, you will find every single article, tweet, video, picture, document we're going to go over here today, plus a whole lot more. In fact, once you hit a yellow bar called web only or overflow, that is all the stuff that we could not fit into a 2-hour time period, or is the stuff that you would not talk about at the bar. There is a ton of stuff there, so make sure to go check it out. There are tons of stories we're going to talk about at the very end of the show, so stick around. You're not going to want to miss it. All right, and then, of course, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So I'm pretty sure we should have Wages, aka Mark here. We should have Ilea. Thank you, Life is Better on Stilts, for popping in. Mary Miles, Scrappy Dappy Doo, Willow, CJ Blaze, what is happening? iPet Mermaid, one on B, JD, Guacaholic. We have One Like Us, Stephen McMahon. Thank you for being here, Stephen. And then, of course, we have, and who said that? Somebody said Chuck Norris's blood type is AK-47. That was pretty funny. Scooby-Doo right? I found Waldo's handler. That's hilarious. Dank Bear, Tedster, the Headsters, Bushy Beevil, and then Jake B. Thank you. And then Baked Alaska, Vic, and everybody else. Welcome to the Fool Fam. Now, remember, this show is live, so anything can happen. Stick around. We're going to go over all of the news. But first, let's go back to that first story. So, Dex, we are actually now seeing the UK send in some of their major tanks. At this point, you have all of these different countries sending in basically a step up from everything that they've ever had. Which, by the way, from the beginning, what did they even have? What did UKR have? We talked about over the last week how Vlad basically said that if NATO didn't give them all of this stuff, that the conflict would be over. And most people agree, if no one intervened and if no one stepped in and gave them missiles, gave them defense systems, gave all of this, that they would be a part of Russia right now. Most people can agree that. As far as the stuff that we did give in the beginning, they kind of told us, oh, well, we're only going to give them little stuff and we're only going to give them stuff so they can defend themselves. Then it slowly became more. It became more money. It became more equipment. And then, of course, there were red lines the whole way that were drawn up by Russia. Russia said, if you do this, you're crossing a red line. If you do this, you're crossing a red line. And each one of those red lines that he said that would cross, he said, well, there's going to be a consequence to this. There's going to be a consequence to this. And, of course, he would hint towards or tease that, oh, well, your satellites may become a target too, and you're this or that. Well, we have seen several things go down in the U.S., and we don't know if we can directly attribute them to Russia. But again, there have been some big events. One being that we grounded all U.S. planes. Now they're coming out on mainstream news, on Tucker, and saying, oh, it was actually probably a ransomware, and that the Bitcoin spiked right after that happened, right? So they're thinking maybe that it was ransomware and they paid it, right? I don't know about that. That might be the mainstream way, or maybe they purposely left a hint there so that could be the reason why. I don't know. But I do know that there's a lot of big events going on, and of course, there's a lot of things threatened. We're going to talk about the Poseidon today and everything else that is happening in the last 72 hours. So again, stick around. Today's show is not going to be fun for everybody. If you are easily stressed or if you don't like scary movies, this would be the time to tune out. If you don't like scary movies, don't watch scary movies. You're an adult. This is all from a prepper's perspective, so we're not going to sugarcoat it. So you have been warned. All right, Dex, what do you think about the whole UK sending all of their big gear in and everything else?
Well, it's a slow ramp up of, it seems like a long ramp up of us giving, and when I say us, I mean collective allies of the West, giving and putting in place more and more higher levels of equipment. So, the Patriots are coming soon. These heavier tanks are moving in. It almost seems like we're outfitting the front line of what could be the next major conflict with our equipment, but doing it under the guise of this proxy conflict. And let's not kid ourselves, as you said, like they are not going to exist. They being UKR will not exist without us. So it just seems like it's just going to keep escalating no matter what.
Yeah, and as far as the training, we'll talk about that. They're actually here in the U.S. right now, UKR troops, and that also, I would assume, would make us, or at least those troops, a target here. We're housing their enemy, right? Let's see. We'll talk about that and much, much more. First, we're going to get into some of the softer, more regular news, and then we're going to get back into what is going on worldwide. And then skipped showers, paper plates, in Arizona's suburbs, water is cut off. Dex, do you want to cover this, and how did this happen?
So apparently this area called Rio Verde in Arizona, which is outside of the neighboring Scottsdale, has been built up recently and over time. And I guess they've built thousands of homes there, or thousands of people are living there in these upscale homes, but they were apparently buying their water from Scottsdale. And with the shortages that have been going on, Scottsdale cut them off. They said, hey, we can't sell to you anymore. So now you have all these people living in this community with no more water. So it's gone. It's kind of a frustrating thing. It's one of those things you think of as a prepper, how you be prepared for, but also this is, one of the effects of this massive drought that's been going on and this water shortage that's been going on. Now, fortunately, California seems to have gotten the opposite. They went from a drought to being completely flooded, but everyone else that was affected by that drought is still feeling the effects. And this is a really prime example where this newer development, and these are higher end homes, $500,000 homes, and some mansions and horse ranches that were all built out on the outskirts of Scottsdale there that are now cut off.
Yeah, the whole thing, as far as in the United States, there have been many events regarding city waters. And hold on, sorry about that, guys. Why did that kick in? That's weird. There's been a lot of events with our water supply and things. It says that Joe McHugh thought he had found a desert paradise when he bought one of the new stucco houses sprouting in the Grand Isle foothills of Rio Verde. It said there were good schools, mountain views, and cactus-spangled hiking trails out the back door. Earlier this month, though, the community's longtime water supplier, the neighboring city of Scottsdale, turned off the tap for Rio Verde foothills, blaming a grinding drought that has threatening the future of the West. Scottsdale said that it had focused on conserving water for its own residents and could no longer sell water to roughly 500 to 700 homes, or around 1,000 people. That meant the unincorporated swath of $500,000 stucco houses, mansions, and horse ranches outside Scottsdale's borders would have to fend for itself and buy water from other supplies if homeowners could find them and afford to pay much higher prices. So it doesn't matter where you are, as far as, people take things like this for granted. As far as these residents, they took this Scottsdale water for granted. They never thought, they wouldn't just cut people off. They will. And in the near future, what they're saying, and I don't believe everything that comes out, but there's been a lot of information saying that by 2100, even by 2050, that we're going to have desalination plants on both coasts and basically be pumping in because we won't have natural drinkable water anymore and all sorts of things. If we believe what they say for the future, and again, who knows what parts are true and what parts are not, either way, it seems like people take these kinds of things for granted. This is why preppers prep. I bet you that the horse ranches and the places that actually had extra supplies are probably going to be able to get by at least until they figure something out. It doesn't seem right that they're just cutting it off. Even if there is a drought, you would think that they would have a lot more warning and that they would have some sort of other plan, like, the smaller city or the suburbs fly something in or do something. I don't know. This is wild, though. And then high-powered lasers can be used to steer lightning strikes. So I guess this adds one more thing to what they can control. It says that lightning rods have been used to safely guide strikes into the ground since Benjamin Franklin's day, but their short range, roughly the same radius as the height, and fixed-in-place design makes them ineffective for protecting large areas. The technology may finally be here to replace them in some situations. It says European researchers have successfully tested a system that uses a terawatt-level laser pulses to steer lightning towards the 26-foot rod. It's not limited by its physical height and can cover much wider areas, in this case 590 feet, while penetrating clouds and fogs. Now, I just wonder, Dex, when you saw this, did you think about those mysterious poles that popped up, or the what do you call it, those solar panel rods that were in some areas? What was it, Utah? Where was that? Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was the radio antennas that were in Utah.
And did they confirm what those were? They said that they may have been some sort of communications. People even theorized that they might. I have not
heard a confirmation. The theory though was it was for crypto. Although a lot of other people had other theories on it, but nobody knows for sure.
Yeah, I just wonder, what if those towers looked about 26 feet or 2.5 stories tall? I wonder if simultaneously they were testing it here or something, or what if that was the test? I don't know. That's very odd. Well, I guess if you know where those towers are, is that an area with a lot of lightning? It says the design ionizes nitrogen and oxygen molecules, releasing electrons to creating a plasma that conducts electricity. And the laser fires at a quick 1,000 pulses per second, and it's considerably more likely to intercept lightning as it forms. In the test conducted between June and September of 2021, it said that lightning followed the beam for nearly 197 feet before hitting the rod. So this is really, really weird stuff. There's extra info over on the website, marfooglenews.com, so make sure to click on that. It's very odd. And then a Delta passenger said that there were screams in the cabin when the plane aborted a takeoff while speeding down the runway at JFK. Dex, do you want to go over what happened at JFK Airport?
Imagine you're sitting in the plane and they just hit the thrusters and you're going full speed. You're building up that momentum, right? The plane is barreling down, getting ready to lift off, and all of a sudden it just aborts, slams on the brakes, throws the engines in reverse, and everybody's freaking out. Well, that's exactly what happened at JFK. Apparently, another airline, American Airlines Boeing 777, crossed the path at the of this Delta flight on the runway, and they literally had to abort at the last second to prevent. They stopped about 1,000 feet from colliding with this other plane.
Yeah, that would be freaky. Again, it says the FAA said that it was investigating an incident involving a Delta 737, an American Airlines Boeing 777 at New York's JFK Airport on Friday night. It said that, of course, it says there were vocal reactions, a few screams when the plane started slowing, then total silence. I felt a surge of adrenaline knowing that this was not normal and not knowing what to expect, Healy said. As the plane came to a stop, I realized we would be okay. I thought that it was a mechanical thing. Healy said that the pilot told passengers that another plane had passed in front of them, forcing him to abort the takeoff. The aircraft took an hour to taxi back to the terminal airport, he added. So that would be freaky. You are literally about to take off, and then this happens, and you guys come to a screeching halt. I wonder how many people on that plane are never going to travel by plane again. I personally had a really scary thing. I think it was over Colorado. I remember them saying something about like that we were over Colorado when it happened, but there was turbulence so bad that if we weren't wearing our seatbelts, it felt weightless. Like we actually felt weightless for a minute, and then things fell out of the top, the overhead compartments, and it was really scary. And then the oxygen things popped out, and then immediately they told us it's okay. We just had a patch of like rough things. But I remember being so scared, being like 12 or 13, and I didn't want to ride a plane, and I don't think I did until it was a few years later that I actually rode a plane again. But I didn't want to. It scared the crap out of me. What is your scariest near miss or turbulence? From your past? Let me know in the comments down below, or let me know in the chat. How many of you would have a scary thing happen to you while you're on a plane? I'd love to hear your stories. Leave it in the comments down below. And then 90% of online content. This is something that I don't believe, but I'm also terrified of, because things are changing really quickly. And if something massive happens, like a life-changing event, then this could be something that could happen. It says 90% of online content could be generated by AI by 2025. I had to do a double take when I first heard that. I said, 2025? That's in 2 years from now. It says that generative AI, like OpenAI's ChatGPT, could completely revamp how digital content is developed, said Nina Schick. It said, I think we might reach 90% of online content generated by AI by 2025. It says, so this technology is exponential, she said. It says, I believe that the majority of digital content is going to start to be produced by AI. You see ChatGPT, but there is also a whole plethora of other platforms and applications that are coming up. It says a surge of interest in OpenAI's DALL-E and ChatGPT has facilitated a wide-ranging public discussion about AI and expanding its role in our world, particularly generative AI. So first of all, it's almost a lot of our faults for even saying, oh, this is really cool. At the same time, everybody kind of approved of this because they gave it to us in this bite-sized thing like, oh, cool, you can make little pictures and you can make, you can type in pink elephant in space and it will do it. And then ChatGPT, it's like, oh, it could write a little article for you or something. This is very, very terrifying because they are talking about even making video in the future. Somebody said the other night, oh, well, Marf, you can't be replaced. That's what they're talking about. They are actually talking about replacing physical people and even having AI that is, say, even if there was a niche, they could do an AI conspiracy theorist, or at least somebody, a human being, could then design a program that did it and then have that be somebody. And you say you wouldn't watch it now, but when it was something that you related to, and almost, here's the scary part, it might even be able to use the algorithm and everything you like and the For You page and all of that to make it catered to you personally. That's what's freaky about this, is you say you won't do it, but if it hooks you in like a drug, like an addiction, like Facebook and all of these others tried for years on how to get it to be the most addictive it could be, then it's going to be a whole lot harder. I mean, this could be like the new opiates, is this online content, because it will be created exactly for you. Of course, ChatGPT has really captured the public imagination in an extremely compelling way. But I think in a few months' time, ChatGPT is going to be seen as just another tool powered by this new form of AI known as generative AI. Dex, what can this AI do? Do you want to go over that? And then, of course, why they're even saying these crazy numbers?
Well, having AI generate content for you, it doesn't generate it out of thin air. So it actually takes a human to direct it and tell it what it's looking for. Whether you're asking for a photograph of an astronaut riding a horse on the moon, or you're wanting a paragraph written about a specific subject and you've got a few key points you want it to be put in there, you ask this AI to do it and it does it for you better than you could have done on your own. In other words, you would have to go paint a picture, which may take you days or weeks, or maybe impossible if you're not an artist. Or you might have to go buy a stock photo from one of the big stock photo companies if you're looking for a particular image for your article, or for a video. So you can ask AI to generate that image. Say, hey, I need a picture of this person doing this type of thing in this type of environment. Give me a few examples. And it generates 4 or 5 unique pictures like that. And you can pick one and then use it in your article as a visual representation. That's the type of, that's what this generative AI is doing. It's not just randomly creating stuff. It's not like necessarily at this point programming content for humans, but what it is doing is it's generating based on simple instructions, questions, or statements. And it can be as simple as, like you don't have a lot of information about something. You say, write me a paragraph about, what happened during the revolutionary period in 1776 or something, right? And it will give you a general statement of it. And then you could ask questions or tell it more, or ask it to get more detailed or less detailed, summarize it in a smaller format or break it out into more detail. And then you can interject your own stuff and tell it, hey, I need you to add this, or I need you to add that. And I think that's what we saw when we talked about CNET, who was reportedly publishing 70 plus articles or something like that from AI. Now they weren't writing them from scratch, but they also weren't writing them. They weren't just letting AI run off on its own and create articles. They were basically directing it. And then they would take that output and then they would actually read it, editorialize it, change it, and then republish it. And it did replace probably a portion of a human's time. And it, when you think about this creation of images and art, that's also, replacing a portion of humans' time, or it's replacing licensing that they may pay to like some of these image companies that they, stock photos and stuff like that they have to pay for.
And they're already selling this to kids. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's an ad that goes out to kids that is this AI called like Replica, and it's like, it's a friend you can talk to, and if you're sad, you can talk to Replica AI, and there'll always be a friend there for you. And of course, people like Mr. Beast. Now, whether you like or dislike Mr. Beast, most people are on the like side, but they don't. Personally, like Mr. Beast has given out so much money, right? Well, then these big companies started seeing Mr. Beast as somebody who they could go to, and now they use his name for all of these like scams. Now, scammers have been using his stuff for scams, but now real companies, they send out emails like, you'll get $500 just for signing up. And you will probably get $500, but you're also signing up for a $10,000 thing that you have to have a contract for and all of this. So people have used his name as him giving out things to get people on board. Well, he has gone on this like tour talking about how he would get the Neuralink, that how he thinks AI is a good thing, that AI is coming and that all the kids should be, trying to learn it and use it. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? As far as like Nickelodeon is now pushing it, and Nickelodeon is putting that out. Somebody made a really smart comment. What was that, Mike C, that said, yeah, the bait, just like in the Mitchells versus the Machines, which by the way, it's supposed to be a kids movie, but it's actually really funny. The robots, basically the Apple phone, basically takes over the world, and they use free Wi-Fi as bait. Basically, all the kids are so addicted to it that the Wi-Fi draws all the people in. So that was pretty funny. Yes, I think that movie is, even though it's animated, I think it has some predictive programming in it. Okie Mouse says, Mr. Beast is evil. Evil can seem good sometimes, don't forget. Well, think about what they say about the Antichrist. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Beast is that, but they say that everybody will, love him and cherish him. All right, and then speaking of which, before we talk about Elon Musk throws shade on the most powerful club in the world, I do want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, make sure to go over and check out Energy. If you've been looking into generators, if you do want to get one of the best solar generators in the world, I would highly recommend going over to Energy. The Energy solar generators are silent, which means nobody's going to hear them from 3 blocks away. They do not make any sound. You can actually have them inside your home as compared to a gas-powered generator. Also, you can actually expand them. Now, the Energy, as far as the X2 that's up top here, this can be dual linked. So this has a built-in battery. The system that is their flagship and the one that I have and absolutely love is the Flex 1500. This can be expanded up to 96 batteries, and they stack like Legos. So you can literally have up to 96 batteries hooked up to one base unit, and then again in stacks of 5. So you can virtually make a wall of these and have as much power as you need. There's no gas involved. You don't have to pay $5 a gallon. All you need is some solar panels. In fact, even if you just have one, again, as it will just take longer to charge. What's really cool about this is that you can actually add mods like a middle unit that goes in and sandwiches that will triple the input. So instead of 4 panels, you can actually plug 12 panels in and charge in a third of the time. So this is a really, really awesome system. They're built like trucks. Anyone who has one, just ask them what quality they are and they will tell you. But there is a wait list on all of these. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy and use the code Marfoogle, not only to get savings, but also they know that the Fugel fam has been very, very patient, so they do try to get units out very fast for us. In the very beginning, people, including myself, waited as long as 6 months for the first units of these, and that was because lithium was in high supply and in low demand. When they get the lithium in, they build them, and then they ship them out. These things will last decades, especially if you take care of them, but you can beat these up as well. They are literally made like trucks. So go to marfugglenews.com/energy and check them out. And that's INERGY. Again, Energy. All right. And then Elon Musk threw shade at the W and the E and the F, and Davos is back to normal. So we're going to also talk about how Davos is actually one of the few people that's not going to be there, and it's basically his party. So we'll talk about that. It says the annual meeting of the world's political and economic elites opened on January 16th in the ski resort of Davos in Switzerland. After nearly a year of war in UKR and the face of emergency, and I'll just zoom in on this. This is something that's big filter. It says this year's ambition is to find a way to cooperate in a fragmented world between war in UKR and the Great Change of the and globalization in existential crisis. It says the world today is at a critical inflection point. The W and the E and the F said on its website, the twin triggers of the CV and the conflict in UKR rattled an already brittle global system. Economic growth in the world's largest economies is stalling while navigating headwinds from rising food and energy prices. It says this year, the meeting is held in the most complex geopolitical and geoeconomic context for decades, underlined the president of the WEF. And then, of course, Elon, it says, I was invited. The CV-19 trade disputes between China and the United States and the conflict in UKR have contributed in recent years to multiplying geopolitical fault lines and fueling more protectionist policies. One of the main causes of the fragmentation is the lack of cooperation and results in short-term and selfish policy, regretted the founder of the WEF, Klaus Schwab. It says to reflect and discuss all these issues, the WEF of course, it welcomes 52 heads of state and government and nearly 600 CEOs. I just want to point out, so there's 52 politicians and 600 CEOs that are deciding our world. Do you see like the ratio there and how that probably should be the other way around? It's literally 600 CEOs and 50 politicians. Heads of state and everything else. It says that one major CEO will not be there, however. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of manufacturer of electric vehicles, Tesla. Musk had revealed in December that to have received an invitation, but has declined it. It says, I was invited to the WEF, but declined, the billionaire said on December 24th. The billionaire who became the most influential boss in the world explained that his decision was due to the fact that he found Davos boring. So something is bigger there. And by the way, I think that could obviously be put out there once people started pointing this out, which Dex, remember it was about 2 weeks ago when he said that he was invited. I actually thought when I first saw what he was talking about, I also thought he was invited way earlier, like as a young global leader, a YGL. And he said no to that. So I think there was a bit of conflicting information on that. And you wonder how he even got to this position of power in the first place. But what do you think about him saying that he's not going to this thing?
Well, there's another quote that he had too. And I'm trying to find it. It's
my reason.
WEF says wealth is managed by an internal investment committee to seek and incorporate blah 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 blah. The governments of ESG. Standing for environmental, social, and governance. And he commented back saying the S stands for satanic. So he's kind of poking at them pretty hard, which I think, a lot of, I don't know if it's a show or if it's legit. A lot of people think, he was, or he has been part of them. I don't know if he's taken a position, to poke at them or if this is just, part of the stage.
Well, you would think that if he said something like this, he would pull new people in that have never thought of it as like an evil type thing. So you would probably think that they wouldn't want that. But maybe they already know that almost everybody and their mom thinks that this place is doing some really shady stuff. So maybe they're doing it on purpose. So then everybody then trusts Elon and then goes under his wing when Elon could very well be a YGL and be guiding the forces that the WEF actually wants to happen in the first place. They're just saying, oh yeah, we're the bad cop. Yeah, go talk to the good cop, right? Yeah, go in with him and talk to him. And then they purposely, push people towards the good guy, and then the good guy brings in Neuralink and 15-minute cities and tunnels that connect you to everybody and everything else. What do you guys think, though? Let's go over to the chat. Stephen McMahon, Elon is doing it for the show, a trick to fool us. ETX, stop complying. 1B, see you in a minute. Can't fake love, says the lifeboat. Peter, Malaya Mom says, it went by too fast. Elon is sketchy, that's for sure. Blurp, beep, blop. Wait, I think I said that wrong. Blurp, bleep, boop. Had to add the echo. The WEF is terrifying. Yes, it is. Casey says, make sure to smash that like button. Hey, thank you. Let's see here. JJ, what is going on? Let's go. Oh, I got to add. Yep. Let's go. Klaus Schwab. And then mystery school. Elon is a mystery for sure. That's the thing. It's a back and forth for a lot of people. Myself, I think that the Neuralink is scary. I think that SpaceX is shady. I think that there's something that they're not telling us, and it's pretty clear to see when they're hiding things. There's plenty of classified things that they're launching up there, and we don't really know what the hell they're doing. We've been schwabbed. ETX says that he's controlled opposition. That was what I was suggesting. Like, if the WEF says, "Oh yeah, we're bad," yeah, since people already think that. I've never seen, what I don't get about is right now is with media and with people, there are certain things that everybody can agree with, but then some people actually don't care. They just go with the official narrative. If somebody says, like Dr. F going on this interview and saying that it was really, really, basically explaining away, they like teed up these easy questions for him to talk about how, oh yeah, well there is some side effects, and yeah, we did fund a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and there was all of this stuff. They went back and forth in this interview, and how people will go, oh yeah, well that makes sense. They basically put out a logical version that covers up everything, and then people are like, oh, well, that sounds logical. Yeah, that's probably it. He's telling the truth. When people have been saying this the whole time, he lied multiple times, and now when it comes out, of course, they just put it together in a logical package, and they even admit some stuff, and then people, because he says, it's all misinfo and all of this, people just believe it. With this and everything else, how do people not see the clips and the WEF saying that they are going to change the world? It's absolute, that all of these things that they are pushing for, they are slow-mo happening. Right now, we're heading towards this 15-minute city world, no stakes, eating crickets, crazy, crazy world. Unfortunately, I think it's partly people's fault. Dex, do you want to talk about this, the tweet, and who's not going to be there?
So this is kind of fascinating. The opening day, Klaus was not going to be available due to health issues. And then we also find out that George, Mr. Soar, is also going to not attend at the last minute. So he says he has other plans. So these are two serious players, the two serious names that are always at this, one of which is the founder, the head of it. And they're both bowing out on the way in. So that's kind of interesting, to say the least. Some people have speculated is, do they know something? Is something else going on? Is it just coincidence? Because that's what seems to be the favorite buzzword right now. But no, something's up there. Both of them are out at the moment, and one is definitively not coming at all, and the other one was missing at least the opening day, which is today.
HN says that Mr. Gates isn't attending either. That's odd. And then also, just to point out, this is 2,500 people on the guest list, 5,000 soldiers, including snipers on the roof. You've got whole troops. Like, you've literally got a small army there. I don't even think that's a small army. 5,000 troops or 5,000 soldiers, whether they be privately hired or whatever. I mean, you've got like a Wagner group there, right? Or equivalent. So that is pretty incredible. What if something went down at this? All of these world leaders all at the same place. Also, I think it would be dangerous knowing where this place is. Didn't they publicly say, even though it's got security and all of this, if you have all of these high-profile people there all at the same time, couldn't another country that has the ability to just swoop in and hit it with something, couldn't they knock out everybody all at one place? I mean, just saying. Usually these are like secret events that the address isn't published and nobody knows where they are. But apparently something like this, you've got all those world leaders there. And again, there's 52 world leaders. So there's all sorts of countries that are involved in this, and their highest up is going to this place. It's kind of freaky if you ask me. If something did go down, we would have a WW3. That's for dang sure. Just if something went down at this thing, that would be a really, really big event. And what if they blamed it on somebody like, Vlad or Xi or something, or if it was Vlad or Xi. Go ahead, Dex.
Well, usually Vlad's there, but he's been shunned, obviously, for obvious reasons.
Wow. Let's see here. Scott Veggie says, if you live in Cali, get out now. Said largest earthquake on record, 116. So, Dex, can you check if there was something like now as far as earthquakes go in Cali? I know we've had some over the last week that we've sort of we've covered on the website and things. And then George, due to an unavoidable scheduling conflict, regrettably, I can't attend the WEF annual meeting in Davos this year, as I have in past year. I plan to deliver a speech in Munich for the eve of the Munich Security Council. Okay, so first of all, scheduling conflict. This is the largest and most influential meeting in the world. Why are they not there? This is their thing. Is nobody weirded out by that? I would keep your eyes open. This is very, very freaky. The two big head honchos are not going to be there. But a bunch of other world leaders are. But Elon conveniently didn't take the invitation, so he won't be there either. Let's see here. France has a battery storage on fire. Z-Man Luke, thank you for letting us know. I don't think we have that. No. Yeah. Thank you. France has a battery storage on fire. I did not know that. I will look that up now. Blinken to test limits on Xi's diplomatic engagement on February 5th and 6th Beijing trip. It said the Secretary of State's agenda is likely to include the conflict in UKR, Beijing's growing nuclear arsenal, stalled counter-narcotics cooperation with the U.S. citizens held in China. And by the way, that counter-narcotics, this is what Tommy and Wages and Mark talk about on the Lifeboat, as far as Xi is the reason why all of this fen and everything else is here. A crazy percentage of it is made over there. And of course, they were trying to work on that, or at least publicly saying they were. All of that has stalled. It says Secretary of State Anthony Blinken will meet in Beijing with his counterpart, Chinese Foreign Minister Qin Gang, on February 5th through the 6th. Washington-based diplomats familiar with Blinken's travel plans told Politico. It says Blinken's much-anticipated China trip is a follow-up to the President JB's meeting with China's paramount leader Xi Jinping in Indonesia in November, at which President B pledged to, quote, maintain open lines of communication with Beijing at a time of worsening bilateral tensions. It said the visit is a test of whether the Xi meeting has paved the way for more productive U.S.-China ties at a time when the relationship has become increasingly rancorous over issues ranging from Taiwan to trade policy and U.S. concerns about Beijing's human rights record. So, first of all, I wanted to ask you guys, what do you guys actually think of Anthony Blinken? I won't say my opinion until you guys get a chance to put it in. What do you guys think of him? We cover him all the time. What do you think of his public speeches and how he talks? And I'll just give you a second to put your opinion there before I give you mine. All right. So I personally think he's like a used car salesman in that he's just one of many that he's like a yes man. Whatever they tell him to go say, he says it. He's very good at delivering the stuff. He's a kind of a gray man. People don't talk about people like him and others that are just, they're gray men. People forget them quickly, or their statements, obviously the media follows their statements because it's an official statement from the White House. But what I get is nobody has any theories about Blinken or any theories about what's his face, the other guy that's who's the other guy that they always cover with him? Anthony Blinken, and then what is it, the defense minister? Or who's our equivalent? There's another guy that we cover all the time, and nobody thinks anything weird about him, nothing else, but he is
Austin?
Yes, Lloyd Austin, that's right. Nobody really talks about that kind of stuff. You don't see whole pages devoted to like this guy's this or that, because they're they've done a good job of just blending in. They deliver stuff, but they do it in such a way that people don't really pay attention. First of all, he is involved in everything. His handshake is attached to like a billion freaking things. If you notice, I mean, obviously his position, he's connected to everything, but nobody questions this guy. Nobody thinks you don't hear too much stuff about him being a sleazeball or this or that. Does that mean that people think he's a good guy? I mean, I would assume all the guys at this level are just not. Yeah, a lot of people say the same. Cheryl Ann says, Obama's puppet who controls President B. Exactly, that's why he's a shill. He should be president's handler. Let's see here. He probably has a multi-billion-dollar mansion too. Of course they do. Even lower on the totem pole. I tweeted out this post by this woman, and the debate was whether the women in Congress were saying that they were mad because there was a dress code that says that they need to look professional and something else. And basically under that, they needed to be covered, something like this. And a pantsuit is okay, but a dress pantsuit is not, or something about a dress, right? And they have 3 or 4 women on this clip that's going around and it's viral. And the first woman goes, well, I'm pissed off because I have a $1,200 dress and I can't wear it because somebody without the range tells me that it's not professional enough. And it is a professional dress, whatever. Personally, I think they should be able to wear whatever they want. But right at that clip, they're complaining, and she's complaining about her $1,200 dress that she can't wear it. And I'm like, and that was a representative. These are the people that are representing us. The people that are supposed to directly represent us and to really speak for us have nothing in common with us. They buy $1,200 clothes. And on the same with the men's side. The men's are buying $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 suits. That is nothing that we relate to. As somebody who's never spent $100 on an outfit, including shoes, that's absurd to me. All of my clothes are like Target, Fred Meyer, whatever. Somebody made a comment about it. I wore an Adidas hat during the whole thing with Kanye. That was even before, and it was before we found out about it. Either way, it's a $10 hat. I wear clothes. I never got to, you wearing a logo and this and that, or this logo means that. It's clothes, man. Especially when you don't have a lot of money, you wear whatever clothes you can. You get stuff when you can. You get stuff on your paycheck. You get clothes. And if something is on clearance, then you get a off-brand name. The people that are representing us, for the fact that they are like literally taking up Congress time, pissed off about that they can't wear their $1,200 piece of clothing, it just shows like they are so far off from their base of people that they're representing. It's absolutely absurd. Now, I think that I would be more comfortable if they were all. I wouldn't care if they weren't wearing sweatpants, to be honest. I wouldn't care if they were wearing Target clothes. I think if they were our representatives, the people representing us, then it should be people like us representing us. Just my personal opinion. If you disagree, that's totally cool. Just do it politely. Yeah, Marv drives a Bugatti. Yeah, you know, they took what's-his-face, Tate's Bugatti, and you know that if you buy a Bugatti, you have to go to an actual Bugatti dinner. I didn't know this. They look up the 13 steps to own a Bugatti. Through this whole Andrew Tate thing, I saw a video, and it showed how he had to actually go, all the steps that you have to go through. You don't buy a Bugatti. A Bugatti chooses you, and then you transfer like $1 million+ to Bugatti. Basically, you have to go through like an interview process to get a Bugatti. And by the way, this is a secret club. And if you buy a Bugatti, you have to go to all their meetings with all of the other Bugatti members. And it's not like a car show. They're like fancy dinners where rich people gather and no one else is invited. These are the kind of groups that exist all over the place. And that's where they network, they talk to each other. And that's why all of these things on the upper tier, these are not anything that any civilian or regular person can access. We're all at the very bottom of the totem pole. But yeah, if I did have the money though, I'd probably buy a McLaren. I wouldn't buy a Bugatti. I think Bugattis are overrated. And then Chinese military aircraft enter Taiwan's airspace at least 7th time in past week, Defense Ministry says. 4 Chinese military aircraft and several vessels were detected near Taiwan early Monday morning in the latest provocation of Beijing being against the island nation. Taiwan's Defense Ministry, they actually screwed that up, didn't they? And that's Fox. Taiwan's Defense Ministry, I guess they're just like, really, just, we're dense, said that 4 People's Liberation Army and 3 People's Liberation Army naval vessels were detected around Taiwan around 6 a.m. Monday morning. Taiwanese armed forces have monitored the situation and tasked CAP aircraft, Navy vessels, and land-based missile systems to respond to these activities. It said the Defense Ministry said. It added that the 2 of the detected aircraft described as J-16 jets had entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone. Monday's provocation marked merely the latest installment is what a daily occurrence for the self-governing island, which Beijing regards as its own territory. On Wednesday, China renewed its threats to attack Taiwan and warned that foreign politicians who interact with the self-governing islands are playing with fire. This, of course, along with all of the other meetings that are now scheduled, definite room for an escalation or a possible escalation. Says a spokesperson for China's Taiwan Affairs Office said that the country was recommitted to, in the new year, to, quote, safeguarding sovereignty and territorial integrity and smashing plots for Taiwan independence on the self-governing democracy that separated from mainland China in 1949. It says the malicious support for Taiwan's independence among anti-China elements in a few foreign countries are a deliberate provocation, Mao Zedong said in a biweekly news conference. Obviously, we know about all the previous visits, the Nancy Pelosi, of course, all of the top guys from the European Union, and then, of course, military guys from multiple other countries visiting. China is pissed off. And it says this week, Taiwan's military staged drills intended to reassure the public of its ability to counter China's threats ahead of this month's Lunar New Year holiday. It says the most important thing is to maintain our safety or the safety of our airspace and national security. So, yet again, more and more, they're testing every single day. They're pushing the limits. And then, Dex, do you want to make comments on that and the call for PLA and cover the call for PLA to use AI for smart deterrence?
Well, yeah, and let me jump to the next one because it kind of ties back in. So there's this call now for coming from an expert in Xi's country on Taiwan affairs, saying that they need to invest heavily in AI for the deterrence against the U.S. Okay, so this is specifically the PLA or specifically Xi's country, and so they want them to invest heavily in leveraging AI to deal with the potential threat. I don't know exactly. They didn't go into detail about what they would use the AI for, other than they want to invest in it. But they are obviously, they being Xi's country, is one of the largest investors in AI. They're probably far more advanced than most, than even ourselves in some areas, and that's why we've been trying to keep them from getting their chips. But then they also talk about, in addition to that, they talk about these exercises, and they want to see Xi's country normalize the advancement across the median line in the drills. And by normalize it, they want that to be happening all the time. So when we go back to the article we just talked about the incursions, that median line is the halfway point. It's not just the ADIS, it's the halfway point. And Xi's country has never recognized it. Taiwan always has, the U.S. always sort of has, and said, yeah, we recognize there's a line there. They've never really crossed it. They started crossing it last year, right after Nancy's visit was the first time they really came across it. So this think tank, if you want to call them that, is also suggesting that they normalize that and make that the norm, so that in all of their drills, they're crossing that median line. And that is getting them closer and closer, which is exactly what we've been saying. Is all of these drills is about stressing Taiwan. It's about seeing what their reaction is going to be, and it's about inching closer and closer and closer, so that they don't know which drill is going to be the real deal.
Yeah, so any one of them could be the real thing. By the way, I just want to point out, did he really need the binoculars? It's a ship. I think it's a ship. Yeah? You agree? Okay. It's a ship. Trinity is here. What is going on, Trinity? It's nice to see you. And Nate, thank you for being here. The grumpy Englishman. Danish girl, what is going on? James, Sydney Gillespie, Miss Jamie, Wages World is here. Vincent Ugaloo, Shelley Winter, Weinreiter, I think I said that right. O Rider, Pony Girl, and Charlie Don't Surf. What is happening? Life is better on stilts. I just want to say thank you again for doing your Christmas video. That was really sweet. If you guys didn't see that, go back to the show right before New Year's Eve. Ilea, Trinity Red or Blue Pill, Hi Ho, Kermit the Frog is here. Sergeant Sedenko is not here. He didn't say he's not here. I build sheds. What a great name. That's advertisement right there. If you need a shed, we know where to go. Terrabile, what is happening? Thank you, Terrabile 3. Sign Digger, OG Stoner Time. Truth Iris, and Jeffrey Bogroff. And I think I saw Jeff P was here. Somebody was saying hi to Jeff P. Jeff P, nice to see you in here. JD, Wages World, RainX, and Sunstar. Thank you guys for all popping in. I do want to shout some folks out here. Thank you again, Welsh Lady. I appreciate your super chat. Looks like actually from you're actually Welsh. Looks like that's in Great British Pounds. Is that right? Thank you. Casey1776, thank you, says GG. Appreciate you. Blue Boy 1968 says, another great show, like always, Adam. Again, and just on a side note, did you know that Klaus is putting in a play, a plan drawn up by Martin Bormann after WW2? Oh, a play-for-play drawn up by Martin Bormann after WW2 for the economic recovery of Germany and future revenge on Russia and possible Fourth Reich. Well, I've heard a lot of the stuff about the Fourth. Yeah, there's all sorts of crazy stuff. But if you can send me stuff on exactly what you mean, that would be appreciated. DM me on Twitter if you can. Matthew Michael, it's like the Titanic. All the people that conveniently didn't board the ship. I think I'm becoming addicted to your show, and I've been waiting all weekend. Matthew, thanks for being here, and I appreciate it. And I'm glad that you have stuck around, so thank you. Mystery School, thank you so much for the hearts. I love that. Thank you. And then Vic, good evening. Marf, Dex, and Ma, it's much love and God bless. You've said you'd like to know things about the Fugel fam. Ragda and I are getting married this Sunday. We love what y'all do, so thank you for being you. Well, Vic, congratulations. And I'm sure everybody else will be congratulating you as well. I hope you and the missus, I really hope that you guys have a wonderful life. And then Stephen McMahon, Off to Work Kitties, Leonardo DiCaprio, Elon Musk, and Anderson Cooper, Lord Vanderbilt, will be graduates of Klaus McSchwab's Academy. Anybody suspicious? Yeah, we are. Yes, absolutely. And then think of the tanks, APCs, as carrier molecules in a chelation process. And the UKR YATCs are the heavy metals being transported out. It takes time. Sean Jock, good comment. Heath Spear, thank you. And, of course, Welsh Lady 5800 and Jam Julice, Mary Munch, thank you guys. And Gifted Grace, Rusty Shackelford, Robert Ward, and Billy Leather. Thank you guys. And then Russian-installed official in Crimea says air defenses shot down 10 drones. Or at least that's what they claim. Dex, obviously they claim something different than what I think we have two sides to this, don't we? Isn't the other side kind of denying it?
Well, I guess the point here and what I'm taking from this is that they're, we've talked a lot about whether or not UKR is going to do some sort of offensive against Crimea. And if they are taking down, they being Vlad's side, is actually taking down drones from that airspace, then that goes right back to pointing and validating this notion that they are striking that area. So it's not something we've heard a lot about outside of the bridge incident, and we've heard a lot about the buildup of fortification to make sure that they defend it. They being Vlad's country defends Crimea because they don't want to see it taken. And there was all this talk that UKR would just keep marching through and take back what that Vlad annexed back in many years ago. So this is showing signs that, hey, this may actually be happening. And if they are starting to point their direction to UK or to Crimea, if UKR is doing that, then that brings some validity to those statements. So we'll have to watch and see how this plays out. But yeah, there's definitely, all the information that comes out of here, you got to treat it with a huge grain of salt because it's always one-sided depending on who's pumping it out from which side. So, but yeah, first time I think we've really heard about anything in the air over Crimea in a while.
Well, and it's like everyone in the world was told that everybody was donating and giving their stuff and investing in global security by giving them gear to defend themselves. Now, with all of these new tanks and all of the gear that they're sending in, is this now going to become an offensive, and are they going to start rolling into Russia? And you see the public narrative is that we have to remove Vlad as the president of Russia, right? They're saying we need to replace him, or at least all of these high figureheads are. And then, of course, you have this Davos meeting, which who knows what's going to be decided there. I believe after this meeting goes down, something big is going to happen as far as a decision is going to be made, and they're probably going to pull on something. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your opinion on this. And in the very beginning of this, and there was a slight theory that Vlad was actually protecting himself. That quickly turned into now then it was him invading. But at the very, very beginning, I don't know if you remembered this, but we covered how they put up S-300 and S-400 missiles very close to Moscow. And people were like, well, why are they putting up defenses like somebody's going to come into their country? And at that point, I think that was still when they were saying, we won't invade if you just promise not to be part of NATO. And people were either on one side or the other. And then all of that Ganda came out about everything that was coming out was like, oh, the heroes of UKR, and everybody had his picture as Zelensky's picture on their profile. And it was just a big mess of information. And then later, a couple months go by, and we found out all of it was BS. So who knows what's actually happening there. On another note, real quick, I do want to remind you, if you haven't already, make sure to go over to EMP Shield. You can actually get a device that will protect your cars, your vehicles, your trucks, your motorcycles, even your ATVs, anything that really runs on a motor. They most likely have a device that can protect it against not only an electromagnetic pulse and EMP attack, but it can also protect you against a CME. This can protect you up to a Carrington Plus level event, and it will keep your stuff running. So if you work really far from home and you're bugging in, or if you are, of course, bugging out and trying to get somewhere, then it's definitely helpful to have your vehicle running after multiple EMPs or a CME. This device can ground the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it fries the device. It can even protect your home and any other thing from lightning before it's able to fry any of the motors, engines, electrical components, everything else. So make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP. The car version takes about 15 minutes. If you are really, really bad, then 15 minutes. Otherwise, anyone can do this. You don't have to be a mechanic to figure it out. It's super simple. Just wire in a couple wires and basically paste it to the side of your engine block. As far as the home version goes, that's the only one. You actually need a licensed electrician to put that in, but if you do, it will protect everything within 250 linear feet from where it's wired in. That covers most houses. Not Schwab's house, not Elon's house, or maybe Elon's house. I guess he lives in a shed, which probably was built by I Build Sheds, but again, you guys get the point. EMP Shield, again, also works for agencies like DHS, DOD, helping protect them. It's a really, really awesome product. It is military tested, Keystone tested, and it is going to possibly save lives if either of these events happen in the near future. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. When you do, you'll get $50 off per device. So if you have a whole family of cars to do, that's definitely a good help. And then it also helps support us. We are independent. We are essentially not suitable for all advertisers on almost every subject, whether we filter or not. So it is a very big help, and thank you guys for helping support us. We don't have a multi-channel network. We don't have a multi-billion-dollar company behind us. We have you. All right, and then Dex, let's go over the Russians lack ballistic missiles. So, or at least they claim.
Yeah. So they're basically they're claiming that they're out of the Iskander ballistic missiles. They're claiming they're less than 100 left, and they being UKRs. This is all coming from UKR. So everything I'm telling you, take it with that grain of salt and understand who the author is here, so to speak. But what they're suggesting and they're saying is that Vlad's side is actually having to modify the S-300 and S-400 missiles to actually hit ground targets. So keep in mind, S-300, S-400, these are air defense. These are they take out either planes or other missiles, really mostly missiles. They're designed for air combat and destruction of air targets. So somehow they're making modifications to them and adjusting them so that they can actually use them to hit ground targets. At least that's the claim being made. So if that's true, it's either validating the fact that they may not have a lot of these ballistic missiles left, or maybe they're just being frugal and finding alternate ways that they can be productive with their equipment. I don't know. I know we've said for a long time we think that they're not dumping their most expensive stuff in. They're utilizing the least expensive equipment as possible because they didn't think they needed it, or because they're trying to drag this thing out longer
Save your best for
whatever
last.
reason. Yeah. So, and they needed to hold back their good stuff because they've got this huge, adversary of NATO like breathing down their neck. So, if they were to go put everything they had in UKR, then they would probably lose immediately to any advancement from NATO across the rest of the borders.
This also could be an excuse of why we are still seeing missiles hit things, and they said they would only have 2 or 3 more attacks. And remember, when I said that was after they had already said it would only be 2 or 3 more attacks and they would be completely out of missiles. So the attacks continue, things keep hitting, and the public doesn't know the difference between an Iskander and a S-300 or S-400 missile. So again, and they're also not going to show us pictures every time they get attacked, like, oh, see, they still have Iskander missiles. Oh, these are S-300. Or if they do show us a picture, it'll be of one S-300 or S-400 missile and go, see, they rigged it up for this, and we don't know if that's real. So my point is that they said, oh, they'll have 2 or 3 attacks more. This is Russia, the same Russia that's been having a world war looming over them for decades, like they didn't prepare for a possible world war when you literally spent half of their money on military all of this time, all throughout the U.S. going through times of having presidents going, we don't need it, world peace, all this. Let's reduce our rockets. Let's reduce our army. Let's reduce our nukes. Meanwhile, they were ramping things up. They were outfitting old nukes when we were reducing ours. I mean, I think it's just because we're going to see more attacks before the Patriot system goes in. And all of those people have egg on their face that said, oh, they'll be out after the next 2 or 3 attacks. I don't know. I personally think my personal opinion is that this is BS. And again, look at where all of this stuff is coming from. And then 11,000 during conflict times, there's just a lot of Ganda. 11,000 military personnel, 50 planes, and helicopters deployed in Belarus. Now, remember, the General SVR, that rumor is now, it's not even just a rumor now. There's now some confirmations that may be right. It's not 100% yet, but do you guys remember the show where we covered what the SVR what said? Dex, what was it supposed to start on the 18th or 19th, or what was that? Their covert mobilization. It was going to be for the first 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it was going to be covert.
2 weeks were covert.
And when did it start? Do you remember the date?
I want to say it was the 18th, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so in 2 days, according to the General SVR, which is the equivalent of Russian CIA, at least that's what they claim, that they're all former Russian CIA, and somebody in that General SVR claims that they were at the recent meeting where basically they were saying that Vlad's about to do a full mobilization, like their whole country's going to war, that they're grabbing everybody and anybody, that it's going to be covert for the first 2 weeks, but by the 30th or about by the same anniversary of February, that it's going to be known. At the same time, all of these countries have just now agreed to throw in tanks, Patriot systems. Do they know something that we don't? What if very soon, at least to the public, it's going to look like, oh, we really do need to be sending in stuff because they're actually advancing with all of the military might and all of the good stuff. They've been sending in 100-year-old rifles, 60-year-old tanks, etc. You guys know I've said it a million times. Are they going to start using all of the good stuff, the good people, the good gear, the jets? They have not even flown one of their new gen jets over UKR yet. Is that all about to go down? And is that why we are sending all of this stuff in? Because it's about to escalate a huge step up. Also, right now in Oklahoma, they are training these guys. We'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, it says UKR does not see an increase in Belarusian military groupings in Belarus near the borders of UKR, and there have been no measures within the framework of the announced joint flight drills. It says, quote, we do not see an increase in or Belarusian groupings in the direct vicinity of our border. Today, the number of Russian military on the territory of the Republic of Belarus is about 11,000 troops. It says that this number changes every day because now there is a rotation of units of the armed forces of the Russian Federation. Namely, the 2nd Motorized Rifle Division will move to the territory of the Russian Federation to Voronezh and Belgorod Oblast, and the 6th Motorized Rifle Division will replace it. Regarding the announced Belarusian flight drills, Danenko confirmed that the 15th of January, 8 aircrafts were transferred from Russian airfields and Kursk to Belarus, including 6 Su-34 bomber fighters and 2 Su-30 SM multi-purpose jets. The total number of planes and helicopters on the territory is now about 50, most of them being deployed at 2 airfields, Mochulisky and the Minsk Oblast in Branvivki. At the same time, no events were recorded in Belarus on Monday. We are constantly monitoring the entire situation, primarily in regard to the increase in the aviation component. So they've got a bunch of jets, planes, helicopters, all of this stuff moving into Belarus, which Belarus strategically is going to be a bigger part if they do end up escalating this beyond just Vlad and UKR. Dex, do you want to cover Germany and what's going on there? Calls for
Certainly.
A special tribunal. Go ahead.
So they're calling to create a tribunal against Vlad, specifically for the invasion, obviously. But the reason they're calling for it this way is the UKR is sort of upset because they understand you can't actually prosecute Vlad and his country in the ICC being the International Criminal Court. The only reason you can do that is plaintiffs and defendants have to be a member, and they're not a member. They're one of the countries that's not a member of the ICC. Well, they also have a veto power on the UN for the UN Security Council. So that's unlikely that would actually happen either. So if the ICC can't do it, and the UN Security Council can't do it, then that's why they're suggesting they create a tribunal just for this. So that's the call out. That's what they're suggesting. Obviously, they want to do some form of prosecution for some of these claims that we've heard throughout this entire time. A lot of them, we don't have a lot of validation for, but there's been plenty of claims that if they are absolutely, true to the way they've been described to us, you would say, well, yes, those are probably not the types of things that are we typically, can write off as being what happens in a conflict. They seem to be outside of those realms, and they're probably, something you can prosecute for. So under those, conflict crimes, if you want to call them that. So that's the point. They're making a claim that they think it should be done as a separate thing since they don't belong to the ICC, and obviously they're not going to get anywhere with the UN.
And it went by too fast. Whoever said that, thank you. Let's see here. Germany's defense minister resigns amid criticism over handling of the UKR conflict. That's relatively new in the last 24 hours. Let's see here. And then, as far as, and somebody said I pronounced it wrong. Germany. Sorry. And then expanded U.S. training. This is what somebody from Tulsa just chimed in. Was that, who was that? That wasn't Mary. Somebody else just chimed in from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Belinda, I think it was. Linda. Or B. Linda. Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Now, when we first talked about this, it was supposed to be in Germany, but it didn't end up being in Germany. It ended up being in the U.S. And the training that's going on here basically puts UKR troops here in the middle of our country. Now, on top of that, there are UKR troops training in Germany, and it says the U.S. military's new expanded combat training of UKR forces began in Germany on Sunday with the goal of getting a battalion of about 500 troops back on the battlefield to fight the Russians in the next 5 to 8 weeks, said General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It said, and again, these are also being trained by U.S. soldiers in Germany. It says Milley, who plans to visit the Grafenwohr training area on Monday to get a firsthand look at the program, said that the troops are being trained, left UKR a few days ago in Germany is a full set of weapons and equipment for them to use. Until now, the Pentagon had declined to say exactly when the training would start. The so-called combined arms training is aimed at honing the skills of the UKR forces so that they will be better prepared to launch an offensive or counter any surge. Basically, not on top of all of the other gear we've supported, we have basically given them the gear and trained them. It's basically U.S. trained soldiers on the ground fighting Russia. I mean, think about it. Their background, our own military has all sorts of backgrounds. I'm sure there's Ukrainian, African, Canadian, U.S., German soldiers in our own U.S. military. Besides the fact that they have a different patch on, these guys are men, human beings, trained by the U.S., and now they're fighting Russia. And with our gear, with all of our money, with everything else. I mean, this is basically the U.S. versus Russia in a proxy. I mean, it's pretty hard to say it's not. It says it's speaking to two reporters traveling with them in Europe on Sunday, Milley said that the complex training combined with an array of new weapons, artillery, tanks, and other vehicles heading to UKR will be key to helping the country's forces take back territory that has been captured by Russia in the nearly 11-month conflict. And possibly Crimea and possibly other. Maybe they might start rolling right back into Russia. It says the support is really important for UKR to be able to defend itself. Keyword defend, right? And it says, and we're hoping to be able to pull this together here in short order. But again, once they get that gear, are they just going to go right over the border and start invading Russia? We don't know. So that's pretty trippy. And then hold on. Let's see here. Okay, hold on. And then Dex, can you cover the UK confirms it's supported? Let's see here. Confirms it will supply. Let's see here. Yeah, the Challenger tanks with that, and then I have to load another piece. Something didn't load here.
Okay, so this is coming from the UK. So we've talked about all the tanks and mostly the armored vehicles that were moving in, especially from us. Well, now the UK, and we talked about this very briefly at the very beginning of the show. The UK has actually confirmed the plans to provide an entire squadron of these tanks, the Challenger 2 tanks, to them. So that's a big deal. Now, the quote we talked about earlier, this obviously upset Vlad. They came out and said, "Hey, these are going to burn. If you put these in, they're gonna burn." I guess that was their big words to throw out there to say, "We're taking out those tanks. Don't send them." But obviously, that's not something that they want to see on the field. Like I said, it seems like the equipment's getting bigger, it's getting stronger. We're just keep funneling it in, and we're almost getting to the point of getting away from defense and moving stuff in for offense. And that will be an interesting position. And I think you're going to see, if we load up UKR with enough offensive equipment to go after Vlad, that he's going to, I don't think he's going to tuck tail and run. I think he's going to turn around and say, look, the game is now on. It's no longer a UKR issue at all. It's going to be a NATO issue. And that's what he's been saying all along with words, but I just wonder when it's actually going to matter and they're going to do something about it, if they even will. So that's the story here. I did want to touch base though, back to the point about the troop training in Germany. I did think the number was awfully small. If all of this effort, and they're talking about, we're going to train and it's just 500, where we've got numbers coming from Vlad's side saying they're trying to roll in 11,000, or they've, bringing on and training 150,000, but we're training 500 in Germany. That number just seems awfully light to me.
Yeah, and it said that the U.S. has already trained more than 3,100 UKR troops on how to use and maintain certain weapons. But this current thing, they're saying 500. That doesn't. I bet there's a whole lot more that they're essentially leaving out or omitting. And I'm sure, Russia and China and whoever else is watching this is probably in on the real amount of troops. Again, it said that 500 troops. Now, let's see here. And then this is a trip. Things didn't load right. So on the back end, I had to change everything. And then Russia has built its first production batch of Poseidon nuclear torpedoes. A report in the Russian media claims that the first production examples of the country's Poseidon nuclear-powered, nuclear-tipped, and ultra-long endurance torpedoes have been built. These will initially be provided to the Russian Navy's shadowy project 09852 Belgorod, which it says the world's longest submarine. I believe the Belgorod, isn't that the Dex, isn't the Belgorod the one that caught fire? Or that's a different one, isn't it?
That's the aircraft carrier. The Belgorod is the one we were watching and monitoring because it left a port up in the Arctic.
Oh, that's right.
And then it went and I think it surfaced somewhere else. But yeah, they've been trying to follow.
Not the
one.
carrier. I'm talking about the one that is named after something involving clowns. It's the one that mysteriously killed 17 people. And at their funeral, they said that, what was that one called? Do you guys remember that one? What was the submarine where 17 Russian soldiers perished? And at their funeral, the commander said that they perished surviving a catastrophic or a planetary catastrophe. They averted a planetary catastrophe. What was that one called? Wasn't that the Belgorod?
No, I think it's Lasharik.
Lasharik, that's right. The Lasharik is so top secret, they say that the U.S. doesn't even know all of the details on it. But it's a special kind of thing. But this is the Russian Navy's shadowy project 09852 Belgorod, the world's longest submarine. But at this stage, it's unclear if the torpedoes actually have their nuclear warheads fitted. According to the Russia state-run TASS agency, the first batch of Poseidon ammunition has been manufactured for the Belgorod and will be delivered, quote, soon. Which is creepy to think delivered. Hopefully it's not delivered to the west or east coast, citing a source close to the Russian military and defense industry. The same report says that the trials have already been completed of various components related to the Poseidon torpedo, including its nuclear power plant. It says previous examples of the Poseidon were produced for developmental and test use, including the one seen in the video below, published by the Russian Ministry of Defense. But the latest announcement suggests that the series production of the torpedoes, or at the very least larger pre-production batch, has commenced. They're saying that this thing has not only been tested, this is the final thing. It's going into ships, and this is the Poseidon system that can blow up and cause a 1,500-foot wave. Now, somebody made a comment earlier, and that's a very creepy thought, and I know there's people that are going to disagree wildly on this, but they say, you know, how if you fold money, you can see this like huge flood through New York and this the waves and things like that. There is a part of most people that see that kind of stuff like, well, what if that was true? Or, gosh, what if that is the deal? As far as floods, also biblically, we all think of, you know, here's the thing. It's creepy when you think about all the other big picture stuff going on, along with the Poseidons, and it could be propaganda to scare people too. Along with the Poseidons, it leaked out that Putin, they had a leaked plan of dubbed Noah's Ark. And this plan was to evacuate all of their leadership and leadership's families. And the actual plan was called Noah's Ark. This was just a couple days after Elon Musk randomly shared a picture of the Space Ark. And it was a rocket taking 2 of each animal to the moon, or to space. And the pathway where all the animals are walking are guarded by men with, you know, bang-bangs and thousands of people with their arms up like, take me, and they're basically holding them back. It's just weird, okay? It's more than weird that all of these little things are coming together. And, of course, people go, oh, well, that's just circumstantial, or that's just, oh, yeah, you can connect whatever you want if you connect it the right way. But when you look at the last 5-6 years, it's absolutely weird how many things are like starting to line up as if there was a huge thing right in the middle of the room that nobody can see, but it's there with the gravitational pull that's pulling everything in. Like imagine if like a 3D animated planet was right in the middle of the room and it showed how the stars would be pulled in, or how things would be pulled in by its gravity. And then imagine if they just turned off the 3D rendering of the big planet in the middle of the room. You could still see all the stars and things being pulled towards it. You just couldn't see the planet anymore. And I feel like something like that is happening. There's this big event that everybody feels, everybody can see is about to happen, but there's no main dot that everybody can connect all these little things to. So people are still debating. People are still conflicted on what's going to happen. I hope that a 1,500-foot wave doesn't come. But the more that they say that they're winning and pushing Russia in a corner, it's definitely a possibility. It's something that we talk about. That's why, that's why we've been telling people to keep their heads on a swivel right now. Right now, there's more chatter than ever. Not to mention all of the stuff going on with the radar community watching the military flights. And, of course, the grounding in just the last week, which now they say is sort of related to this. And now the whole thing with U.S. troops training and possibly doing things here in the U.S., it's kind of freaky. And all of the tanks being sent, huge red line being crossed, the Patriot system being sent, which could actually start a no-fly zone. And then you've got, well, I guess no. You know what? Dex, so originally the whole reason when you saw a no-fly zone and why it would cause World War III was because U.S. soldiers would be running the Patriot system. That was assuming that U.S. would go in and run the Patriot system. Does that no longer apply if Ukrainian soldiers are running the Patriot systems on their own? We just gifted it to them? Or did his threats still say that he would do that stuff if, no matter what, if they did a no-fly zone? Because remember the no-fly zone thing was that we would be shooting Russian planes down.
The original call was for the U.S. to establish a no-fly zone, and if we did that, it would be our planes patrolling, and it would be our equipment manned by our people, taking out anything that breaks that no-fly zone. So that's a big difference than us just sending the equipment in. Obviously, we've been doing this for a year now. We can send anything we want over there for the most part, and they haven't done a thing. So I think we have tested the waters clearly and know that we can send over the Patriot or whatever system, and they're gonna they're not going to do anything about it. It's totally different than if we were to engage it with our own troops.
Wow, what a trip. Let's see here. Yeah, so we've got a lot on our horizon, and people need to be aware of what's going on. Thank you, by the way. Thank you for popping in. Let's see here. Gifted Grace, thank you. Appreciate that. Lots of new names here. Thank you, everybody that's found us. Remember to share us out. More importantly than anything, over donating or going through affiliates, make sure to share us out. Make sure to comment. If you can, hit the like button. I don't tell you guys to do it much, but if you do feel like it, if you do find it in your heart, just press the like button. It helps, even though it doesn't seem like it. And then make sure to comment down below on the replay. If you can, even stop by after you've watched, or if you watch the replay, write a comment, say hi, say hello to other Foogle fam members, whatever you end up doing, that's fine. OG Stoner Time, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat and the super sticker. Liz Smith, thank you for the super sticker as well. Looks like a llama that's on fire, running for its life. Or is that just too small for me to see? No, I think it's a mushroom on the back of a swimmer with a propeller on its head. Or is that an ant with a ladybug on its back flying through the air like Superman? I don't know. I got to get glasses. Hey, Marv, thanks to you and everyone who watched. Joseph Newhouse says, who watched the Sky Object video, stunning aircraft video with the Osprey later tonight. Thanks again. Joseph Newhouse, really crazy that all these military planes are up there right now. And right now even, all of the radar community is buzzing. And there's all sorts of weird stuff happening, circling landmarks, and it looks like they're on high alert. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And real quick, if you do want to support a different way, you can, and you can get yourself prepped at the same time. Go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/prep. You can get long-term survival food with, again, an expiration date of 2052. That's huge. This can last 25 plus shelf years, and that's its best by date. It's kind of like when you get milk and it's like, it's best by this, but you can go a couple extra days. With this, it has a best by date of 2052. So if you do want food, just add water, freeze dried, sealed in Mylar bags, and then packaged in all sorts of different ways. In fact, if you get more than a week or 2 week, I believe it's where they start packing it then into a bucket, which is then sealed as well. You can go do that. The 3-month supply is $200 off right now, which is a huge deal. And then the 1-month supply is an awesome deal at $100 off right now. So make sure to do that. That's the largest discount on both, I believe. So the 1 month, $100, and 3 month is $200 off. You actually, right now, you can get, I almost want to say it's a better deal to get multiple 1 month supplies. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, that also helps us. That sends us a commission, and it ends up giving you a big discount on top of supporting independent media. Okay. And then I did pull up, so wanted to pick up I couldn't do it while I was here live, but one of the things that I pulled up on, Dex, do you have do we have an updated piece on the training in Oklahoma and what's actually happening with it? Because there's a lot of conflicting stuff, and a lot of it's from 5 or 6 days ago. But this one says about 100 UKR people are bound for Fort Sill in Oklahoma to learn how to use the Patriot missile defense system to help counter Russia's barrage of its civilian population and infrastructure, which they had to pop in there. It's not to defend against Russia. It's to defend of a barrage of its civilian population and infrastructure. It says that UKR President Vladimir Zelensky lobbied for months for the system, saying that it would make a significant difference in bolstering Kyiv's defenses. The U.S. pledged $1 Patriot battery in December as part of several large military assistance packages, and last week Germany pledged another one. The truck-mounted launching systems can hold up to 4 missile interceptors, a ground radar, a control station, and a generator. So these things are no joke. It says Pentagon Press Secretary Brigadier General Pat Ryder said that the training could begin as soon as next week and could take several months. So again, now we kind of have a timeline. Say if it started next week, which would be now this week, right? So if it starts this week, it takes several months. In this next several months, we're going to see massive attacks in UKR before they get this Patriot system. At least that would be common sense, knowing that they will have the Patriot system in just a few months. Dex, do you want to comment on this? And then I don't know if you did find more updated in like the exact start time. Let's see here.
Well, the one thing I did find is that there's the state senators there. A couple of them have been sparring back and forth. One of them specifically doesn't want them there. He actually wants them to leave. He's saying it puts a target on the state of Oklahoma, and it also is an escalation because it's not like he says we train foreign military all the time, but those are allies. They are not in the middle of a conflict. He says this is not a NATO ally. They're in the middle of an existing conflict, and by bringing them into our state, it puts risk to the population of the state should anything be targeted there for them because of it. So he's fighting against it. Of course, others in the House there are also fighting for it. So that's kind of the latest that's going on, but obviously it is happening. It's underway or getting underway. It doesn't seem like that's going to stop anytime soon.
No, it does not. And we'll see what goes on, and we'll update you on everything that changes. I do want to say thank you too, by the way. Thank you for hosting, Chance. I appreciate that. At the beginning of the show, you ended up bringing in your people as well. MC Dirty Work, Spartano Negative, thank you guys. Johnson, Big Fish, Fractured Fusion, Johnson, Michelle K. Again, Spartano Negative, thank you for making it to more shows here lately. Ace Hardware, thank you for following. It looks like we have Badger gifted a 1-month subscription to Lacey May. Thank you for giving her the Marfia badge. Lacey May 33, again, thank you for being here. Fanny Jar donation, says Badger 1. And then CompTech, thank you for being here as well. Johnson, thanks for gifting out Marfia badges. And then Cu Santos, thank you for following as well. Everybody over on DLive, thank you guys for keeping that community alive, and thank you for being positive. Jammer and Chance and, of course, April, they all keep it really, really awesome down there, so thank you so much. Let's see here. Dex, do you want to go over the web-only content? We have a lot of it.
We certainly do. So head over to marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show. If you're on YouTube or on Rumble, just open up the description and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here to this page. You'll see all of the news we just covered, and then you'll get to this yellow bar. It says overflow. This is the rest of the story. So everything else that we put together for you. So if you want to go there and catch what you've been missing out on, it's there. You can also go back a day or two and see the other news. We do it every night. Lots going on. It's a little bit of an update on with what's been happening with the confidential or the documents, the document drama with the current prez and the other prez or the former prez. Also, there's an interesting article about whether or not that diary that's related to the current prez from, I think, his daughter is going to harm Project V, and whether or not they're going to get taken out by it. So that's an interesting article. If you want to learn more about it, go there. We do have some additional updates with the UKR conflict. There's also some interesting things. I didn't realize this, but there was a big protest, and now a bunch of relatives were questioned by police after the protest in Lebanon over that big event that happened in Beirut a while back. So they had recently been protesting. That's there. The current president's son is in court trying to stop his daughter from taking his name. You can find out why. There's more to that story for sure. There was a horrible plane crash in Nepal. There's some video. Don't want to show it to you, but if you're interested in seeing that, there's lots of different footage that was captured of it, including one on the actual plane. It's probably a view most people have never seen before. Kind of a scary thing, and obviously a bunch of people perished. So heart goes out to them. California is still dealing with storms and potentially another bout coming through, but they have been doing assessments with what's been happening with all the flooding. So they've got a little bit of a break to look and see what's going on. So hopefully they'll be getting back to normal soon, although who knows with this crazy weather, what's next for them. TSMC is in the news specifically because they've been losing share, I guess, or I guess the costs have been going up and people haven't been buying as many chips. So that's happening. There's some updates from the pontiff that are actually kind of fueling the rumors that he might actually quit or resign, which I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see. We've talked a little bit about the pressure that others have been putting on him to get him to step down. The Thunberg was detained by police. So if you want to know that story, it's there. There's some Elon updates, and there's plenty of other updates, including what they're doing with these big computer data centers in Germany. They're trying to actually reuse the heat that's generated by all those computers. So that and a whole lot more. And I didn't even give you all the news. So if you want to go, head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that description on YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here.
And the crazy part about the whole mafia, Don, it's insane that this guy has been running around living his life all the way up until now, 2023. They just got him. He was the quote, the devil who inspired The Godfather. Like, the dude's been on the run forever. It's kind of trippy. Wasn't there another guy who lasted years and years and almost basically made it into his senior citizen years, and they found him somewhere and he had changed his face, and like the crazy stuff that really happens. Like, the movies are, of course, I guess fact is stranger than fiction, and that has worked many, many times over and over again. What a crazy world we live in. Thank you, everybody that has made it here tonight. Thank you for everybody for keeping it positive. Make sure to go to marfooglenews.com/friends. If you haven't seen all of our wonderful mods, like Trinity's channel, Ilea's channel does some great stuff. She did a lot of coverage of the California storms. Make sure to go check her out. She is a creator creating awesome stuff. Trinity, Red or Blue Pill, Hyocomber the Frog, does crazy editing. Wages World is really phenomenal coverage of the solar storms. And then Rip Curl, really awesome guy. He is very, very smart. He's on the tip of the spear with info. Really, really great. When he puts out stuff, he makes sure that it's correct and accurate. And then Jammer, really great guy. Please pray for him. He's had some health issues over the last couple weeks. Gem, beautiful, beautiful artist, photographer, does everything, does an amazing, amazing amount of awesome stuff. CJ Blaze, of course, does great videos. She covered a whole lot during the whole transition into 5th generation stuff. So check out all of her videos. Chance Paladin is an author, published author. Go get his book on Amazon. And then Bones is actually, he's spread out. He's got all sorts of awesome creation going on. He's actually getting pretty big on some other platforms. So make sure to go follow him as well. And then all of the friends down there are all channels we vouch for. And again, as of 1/16/2023, these people are awesome. I say that because you never know online. It's a crapshoot now. All right, thank you guys. I love you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And now it's time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro.
On the wave so big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the wave. I sit on the background and everybody wave. Say goodbye. I sit on the wave so big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the wave. I sit. So big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the wave. I sit on the around and back and round and back and round and back around and round and round, back around. If I'm the wind on the wave so big we can't comprehend. Everybody getting on the wave. I sit on the back around and everybody wave. Say goodbye. On the bringer, I'm going on the dinner, and is on the singer. I'm on the beggar, on the weed with the critter. On the beggar, on the gain was the hitter. I do some new house on the list. I know Jesus on the time, Casey on the way. Blue boy 1968 on the jacket. On the bring it down the Matthew Michael Happy. Mystery, mystery, mystery scoop. And bring it down the back around and no one cook. I said the Lord man, and I bring it down on the bring down. I said bring it down. Sanjaka, and on the bring it on the down. On the he spear and the Welsh lady now. Adam do like son, the Mary Monshaw. With the gifted grace and the rush to Shaka Bar. I said on the back around and everybody wave. Bye, I see the white. No nothing on the on the hip. No me nipping on the diddy now. One day I'm a back around the quackaholic. I see the Dave on the banner on the messaholic. I done the phone on the big around the iPad mermaid. I get big cleans a lot then go about. People on the link, the people and the Kelly memes. Jedi on the Jedi and the back on the red eye. Red fly, cut off eye on the red eye. Oh no, everybody scream like a dead eye. Oh no, now that the plane stopped. We'll all get off and get on the lifeboat. I sit there back around with the Mickey Brown. Among such I see you now. I turn the flag now, sign digger. Ah, Danish girl, everybody for the digger. Oh, now therapy lay with the tree. Ricky on the cannon and a Lisa B. I said I'm on the flag with the Jamie Rock. I missed up at the banner on the back nowhere. I said another on the day on the Matty song. I miss on the back on the missed up it. I said oh now, I with the fair firestorm. Can't comprehend everybody getting on the web. I sit on the back around and everybody we can't get no on the ball in the box. I'm in the goodbye, see the white. Sabrina, Anna, and on the Bang on the Asun, and Anna, and on the Peter, on the Peter, Peter, Moon
No.